Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I know some of you were probably here at the top of the hour, but we are about to kick things off. Our speaker today is my friend Ryan Lassiter. Ryan and I have known each other probably over a decade, and he wouldn't tell me. I asked him before and how long we had known each other, and he said a while or something like that. But anyway, Ryan is does a couple different things. Ryan is the co-owner of Levant Technologies in Norman. They are a web design studio. They run things on WordPress, but then Ryan also runs a photography and videography business specializing in headshots. He's got a lot of skills and has done tons of education on headshots. And so Ryan is a big advocate of authentic content. And so today he's going to talk about content that connects. So I will turn it over to Ryan.
Woo-hoo. Awesome. Thank you so much. As you can tell, there are 100 people in this room. So for those of you who cannot swim, welcome. So my name's Ryan. I am the owner of Defining Image, corporate photography / videography company, and something that I've learned over the past few years of running a business. Because I think we all think that, oh, you're a photographer, you're an entrepreneur. It's like, no, I never wanted to own a business, but then I did. And then I had to deal with that. And it's like, we have to all struggle with this thing of like, and Michaela was asking me before I even started, it's like, how do you get business? Like, how do you get people to get headshots? And the normal answer to that is, I don't know, because I created this really cool system where you can go to my website, definingimage.co, and book your headshot. And then I don't ever meet you until you get to the studio, which is kind of awkward at the beginning, but I've gotten used to it. So I don't know. A lot of people just book headshots, and that's great. But you get to this point where you have to start telling people your story and why you do things. And more importantly, you have to get people to understand what it feels like to be in the room with you, right? So that's kind of what I mean by creating content that connects, is like, what is it like to be in the room? I do this when I do headshots. I want your headshot to reflect what it's like to talk to you. Otherwise, it's not doing its job, because that's often that first introductory experience for someone, unless you meet them in person, which is fantastic. So I want something that kind of mimics this. Lynn, if I were to email you after that, I wish I'm not going to spam you, but if I were to email you after this, I want you to see my headshot in my signature, which is not the nose, but whatever, and be like, oh, I remember that guy, right? Should be easy, should be clear. It's the same with all of our marketing content, right? Okay, so like true Romeo and Juliet fashion, engage, tell stories, educate, that's the whole talk. I'm doing the whole, do people remember Romeo and Juliet? They gave away the whole story in the beginning. Okay, anyway, so that's the whole thing. This is the whole point of what we're doing, and how we kind of unpack that is how we move forward in this. So first we got to figure out, like, why do we even create content to begin with? Because I think there's this weird thing that entrepreneurs and business owners, or people just running marketing and businesses, they just assume, like, I post because I have to. I post because that's what it takes to run a business, or I post because otherwise I'm going to starve, those kinds of things. It's always the wrong kind of pressure to get content that's actually you whenever you're kind of doing this thing. I'm going to try to look into the camera as well, but I move around a lot. So feel free to tell me when I'm not looking at you, and if I want you to feel like I'm treating you with respect and kindness and all those things. So welcome. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so we don't post because we have to. If you post because you have to, you automatically start losing authenticity, because you're trying to hit some target. You're trying to hit some KPI that you've given yourself. Well, I need to post 3 times a week. Otherwise, I'm not engaging enough. It's like, okay, well, there's a place for that. But if that becomes the whole point of posting, why do we even do it? It just starts like bogging down our souls, and we don't want to feel like that. So I want to post to have real conversations. I don't know how many, so that more people online than there are in the room. So that obviously tells us that not a lot of people like meeting people in person. When I was helping my little brother, he's 13 years younger than me. accident, right? When I was helping him get his first job, he would fill out the applications. I'd take him around, but he would never call to like check up on it. Like, hey, dude, you know that would make you feel a lot more like forward, a personality. I can get this done. He's like, nah, I can't do that. I was like, okay, well, if we come in this with the idea of having conversations and making people feel normal about what it is that we do, it's going to be a lot better. So I want you to first, as with all of your marketing, you have to take yourself out of your company. Because we get in this mindset of like, this is what I do, this is the things that I do every day, this is the thing that I have to talk about, and we get bogged down, right? Especially when we're like writing content for websites, things like that. We're just like, okay, here's all the things I need to explain, so here's the list, and that'll be it. Well, that's a great way to sound like a brochure, or like the, has anybody actually looked at the insert in the plane where everyone's like buckling their seatbelt and stuff? It's terrible. It's essential. And that's the right place for that stuff, but not on the website, right? You don't see it plastered all over Boeing. Maybe it should. Anyway, so you got to take yourself out of your company, and you have to experience your culture from the outsider's perspective. That's the best thing that we can do, is start acting like a client of us rather than an employee of this company that we've created, right? So that's the best way for me to start thinking, like, what's it like to book a headshot with defining image? What is that experience like? Is the user experience built for ease? Is it easy to find a session? Is it easy to pay a deposit? Is it easy to understand what the pricing is? I'm walking through this like someone who's actually doing it, not me that's just assuming it's all going to go well. So a great way to take yourself out of your company for a second is to start thinking about, bless you. Are you okay?
Yeah,
Okay, I care about you.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Start thinking about content that you interact with that's really worked, right? So I'm going to give you some examples. We're going with this whole know, like, and trust principle, right? That's the thing that we're kind of building with content. We want people to know what we're doing. We want people to like us, because then they want to do business with you. And you want us to trust that we're doing what we're saying we're doing. So for me, here's a couple of examples. Up here on this top left-hand corner, that guy's name's Casey Neistat. Very prominent YouTuber, one of the first daily vloggers into YouTube, kind of started in the early days. I love Casey Neistat. I love watching his videos. I love the way that he approaches things. And so when he came out with a filmmaking course, I was all over it. Not because I want to make videos like Casey Neistat. It's because I wanted to support this guy that creates art that I enjoy, right? And so I thought, great, I'm going to take a filmmaking course with Casey Neistat. And I did. And I went above and beyond, because the whole point was to create videos, right? We were creating vlogs, and we were trying to make it to where the other people in the group would comment on the videos that we made. But I created videos as the comments and interacted more, right? So that they could see my face. I was like, screenshot. I used Loom, right? I was just watching their video and my face was in the corner, and I kind of talked through some, like, oh man, I love that shot. And I gained one of my best friends from this course. He lives in Alberta. He's up in Canada. I've never met him in person, but we talk nearly every day. And it's become this relationship that was founded in this just content that I enjoyed, right? Another thing would be like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is the Gregory Hayes translation, which I will postulate is the best translation of Meditations. I saw this on a video of a guy that I admire named Ryan Holiday, who runs the Daily Stoic. And he talked about, oh, this is the translation that feels the most like it. This was like 6 years ago, maybe, and I bought this translation. I've recommended it to anyone who hears me talk, so go buy that version of it. I've read it. I read it every year, try to. Second idea, like building a second brain. This is something that I use all the time. I have it on my phone right now. I can tell you what size my air filters are in my house because of this concept of building a second brain. That was all created from this relationship that I had through content. It was just content that I was engaged in and I enjoyed, right? Kickstarter. Anybody bought anything off of Kickstarter before? Yeah? Okay, see? I've carried this nomadic backpack for 6, 7, 8 years. This is the third one that I've owned. It's got a lifetime warranty.
No.
Yeah. All because I enjoyed the pitch. I liked the way that they created the content. I liked the culture of the company. I wanted to support it, right? Content should show culture, not just features. We're not creating content just to tell people what we do. We create content to explain what it's like to work with us, right? So let's talk about how to be authentic. And I want you guys to kill the preacher voice in your marketing, right? Does everyone remember Reverend Lovejoy from The Simpsons? And that really low, drony voice that he gets when he gets behind the pulpit. Now, I did my homework. I don't want to offend anybody. I watched Tim preach last night. And he does not have a preacher voice. So you're in the clear, right? I checked this out. But there's oftentimes people get in front of other people. They'll do like a networking meeting, or they'll get on video, or they'll start typing something, and it immediately sounds like jargon. It immediately sounds like we're trying to talk over people's heads because that's how we value what we do. If I know more than you, that's how it goes. That's not how this works. It works by connecting with people, right? The preacher voice sometimes happens automatically. So if you ever get into a situation where you're starting to, like, I don't know, read from a script, scripting sometimes gets a little hairy because we immediately have this preacher voice, this affectation that kind of comes about, right? So your voice matters. Your actual voice, yes? And so we can't lose that voice in what we're doing. You like the Ariel quote? That's like, I did that for my daughter. Anyway, what if we talked like we post? Michaela, come here. You ready?
Oh, I need to come up with
Yeah. This is easy. And this is like the best way that I can kind of envision this working. All right.
Okay.
Your whole objective
Mhm.
is to just have a normal conversation with me.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm going to talk like most photographers post, and like I've posted in the past.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
What kind of photography do you
Headshots.
do? Okay. Why do you like
Look,
headshots?
headshot.
Okay.
Here's the link.
What kind of
No,
industry?
headshots.
Oh, okay.
You see how awkward that is? Thank you.
You're
Michaela.
welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Michaela. That's so great. I created that on the spot so that way you'd have to get up. It's so interesting how we talk to people on social media, because it sounds super put together and super just thrown at people. We are not throwing bricks at people, right? We're actually having conversations, and we're creating content to have conversations, not to pitch things. All of your content, for once I'll actually read from the slide, look at that. All of your content should actually reinforce what it's like to work with you, not confuse and strangle people with information, right? So, have you ever been on a website and you open the homepage and it is just jarbled mess of language? And you start reading this website and you're like, oh, cool, no thanks. I don't want to work with you. That's obnoxious. And if this is how you talk to people, I don't want any part of it. I don't care how much you know. Like Kate's here. I don't care how much Kate knows about HVAC. I know that she knows what she's doing. I know that she's going to take care of me. And I get a good sense that I can actually talk to these people. And I'm not going to feel miserable talking to these people, right? That's what makes Familia Mechanical work so well. It's because they're people that you can actually deal with. It's not some weird jargony experience where people are trying to prove that they know everything. Perfect example. Tim asked everyone he knew to come do this talk today, right? And then when everyone said no, he reached down to the very bottom of the barrel and picked at random and thought, okay, whatever. And here I am. See, this works. I don't have to know everything. I just have to be a little bit relatable. So we have to start thinking about, what does your voice sound like? We have two separate audiences, kind of from what I'm understanding. We have people that are creating content for themselves, which is awesome. This is easy to find your voice. Just go talk to people. Go have one-on-ones with people. Go sit and have coffee and just have conversations. Not with the idea to pitch something. We don't go to events to get business. We go to events to create relationships. We try to find people that we want to be friends with. And social media is making friends at scale, right? That's the best way you can start thinking about things. Your marketing, your website, all of this stuff that you put together is making friends at scale. And so when you start thinking, like, what does my voice sound like? It's funny because you go through this like evolution of things. The first time I sat, well, I guess I can move here. let me go forward a little bit. First time I sat in front of a camera and started creating YouTube videos, I did the thing I thought needed to be done. And then it was like, okay. But you got a bit of that affectation. You got a bit of the preacher voice. I watched this video on the right last night, Cringe City. I thought it was brilliant when I recorded it. Thought it was amazing, right? But not so good. It was a little weird, right? So whenever you start thinking about like this evolution that happens, you don't just immediately jump on screen or start typing and get your voice right the first time. You have to kind of work with it. It's an evolution, not like this realization that happens. Now, that's for people that's creating their own marketing. We also have people that create assets for other people, right? And so that's even more important for us to not only understand how we pitch for ourselves, how we talk about what we do, but we then also have to take on the voice of someone else. I cannot write content for Tim without saying something about Superman. It just doesn't make sense. It wouldn't sound like Tim. It needs to feel authentic. Otherwise, it's Ryan. Nobody wants to hear Ryan, except for today. Don't leave. No one wants to hear Ryan talk about a client of Ryan's. They want to hear what actually it is to work with that client, right? So, weird the first time, sure. But you just got to keep going. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going for authentic, which is the easiest thing to do if you're with the right people and doing the right thing. So pro tips, right? Find a champion. Now, Tim has been a champion of mine for years. When I feel like I'm getting a little lost and I can't quite see the future, I run things by Tim. And he's been this person that has been like, oh, you know what? I see this. What you're saying is valid. I have experienced this, and this is what I've done in my experience, right? You have to find someone that's going to breathe a little bit of life into you when you feel like you're losing it a little bit. You can also count on champions to watch your content and engage with it because they genuinely like you. That doesn't necessarily mean they like your content, so you got to be careful with that, right? Find a champion and then find a coach. Find someone to show you the ropes and make it feel relaxed. This is something that I've learned through videography. Photography was the beginning of it. I start doing headshots and I realized photographers don't talk to people. You sit down for a headshot and they tell you to turn, they tell you to smile, put your freaking hand on your chin, and then they snap a picture and you're gone. If you're not connecting with your photographer, how do you expect the picture to connect with anyone, right? So then you kind of move into this videography thing and you think, okay, this guy's gonna point a camera at me, I'm gonna read this script, and then I'm gonna be a millionaire. That's not how I've made my fortune. It's through just talking. So the way that you kind of coach people into this is, A, you teach them what looks good on camera, so that way they have a good foundation, and then you just have a conversation. It cannot be this thing that you've pre-put together because you're just wrapping a brick in felt and throwing it at people. And it sounds inauthentic. But if I can have a discussion, a conversation, then it gets this feeling of like, oh, we're talking together. This is what it's going to be like being in the room, right? I try not to have the preacher voice. I don't know. You guys could tell me I was talking earlier. I'm louder when I'm presenting, but just a general same idea, right? I don't want it to feel any different. If you guys are like, oh, what's it like to work with him? It's like this. I talk a lot. It usually gets you to forget about the camera, but that's the whole point. So the other thing you got to do is you got to find some time. Right? The wash, rinse, repeat idea, because it's not going to be perfect the first time. Doesn't matter, right? Because when you start thinking, it won't feel right immediately, but it's not going to feel right at all if you don't ever start. Yeah? Okay. So let's talk about bottling lightning. Let's say we get into the fact that we've found our voice, we've started talking to people, and now we understand what it's like to talk, what it's like to be me and to actually talk about what we're doing. Then we got to figure out how to bottle it a little bit. ChatGPT doesn't do an amazing job of Pee-wee, but it's close. Like you could get it. It gets a B+, I think, in my book. Okay. So first let's talk about platforms. And it's interesting because marketing companies, I trash marketing companies a lot, which is weird. I probably should have given them heads up. Speak my truth. Marketing companies tend to be like, okay, well, we're going to put you everywhere because we got to find what's working. So we're going to put this here, we're going to put this here, we're going to put this here. That's great. That's fine. If you are doing this yourself, find out where you fit. as you're having these conversations, if you're a photographer, which is funny because I'm about to say this and I'm not right. So disclaimer, this is not correct. If you're a photographer, many people would tell you, like, Instagram's the place. Instagram's the place to showcase your work, to get you there. Instagram for me is just kind of a portfolio piece. If someone finds me on Instagram, it just shows them that I'm still in business and that I still know how to work my lights. That's essentially it. And then every once in a while, I'll do something like this. I did a shoot here recently for, I'm not a sports guy, some OU player. Dadgummit, that would have been a really good pitch and everybody like, oh my God, sorry. But he left the chair. He was doing like some Santa thing. It's the guy with the cigar, doesn't matter. Anyway, but he left the Santa chair overnight. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stack up a bunch of Pee Wee merch on this chair and sit in it like a boss, because that's weird. And that's what I like. So I did the weird thing, but I don't do this very often. I post things that I do and that's that. For me, I just talk a lot. I talk and I get passionate about what I'm talking about. So seems like video is the right place for me. I also have really good conversations with people. And that helps me create videos for people, yeah? Because that's all this is. If I can pull something out of you and you're like, oh yeah, wow. Yeah, done. That's the lightning in the bottle. So that you're gonna kind of start seeing like, okay, is my thing, is my lane more writing? Is my lane more showing my stuff through my art? Is my thing more talking? That's kind of this feeling of like, okay, this feels right. Let's start here and then let's expand from there, because you have to figure out two things. Where are you most comfortable? But where are your clients? I learned this real early on. I'm a photographer, therefore I have to be on Instagram. My clients aren't on Instagram. My buddies, my photographer friends, my just compatriots are on Instagram, and they'll like my stuff and then they'll shoot their own stuff. They're not sending me business. That's not where my clients are. I'm not talking to anybody. It reinforces every once in a while, but it's not getting that boom. And I don't mean the boom like the YouTube kid. I'm talking about like boom like Emeril Lagasse, like the old school boom, right? But you got to figure out where your clients are. For me, I didn't realize this until like years into owning a business. My clients are on LinkedIn. That's where they use headshots. That's where they try to connect with other people. That's where my message would actually come across more. How often did I spend on LinkedIn? Not very often, because it's boring and lame sometimes, right? But guess whose responsibility it is to spice up a place that's not very spicy? That would be us, content creators, people that are actually putting forth the effort to make something out of nothing, yeah? And so that's kind of where my special sauce is right now, is this idea of LinkedIn. And so what I do, pro tip, is I hack everything that I just told you. Was that loud? I woke you up. You can hack this approach. So let's take it from my instance. And I don't do very many AI tricks, but here's a cool one. I record a video. I did one recently that I should have done 6 years ago, but I did it in the last 6 months and it's worked really well. And you should do exactly what I'm telling you. Record a video that is a what to expect, right? In my instance, what is it going to be like when you get in the studio? What is the pricing structure? How does this all work? What should I wear? All of these things, right? You've got all of these things that come into this experience, because the big thing with people when they come into the studio is they don't know what's going to happen. And so it starts freaking them out, and then their eyes start getting wide and they look stupid on camera, right? So if I can do something to make them feel more at ease, I'm benefiting the whole process. So I record a video that talks about what it's like to come into the studio. Super easy, because I can talk about that without much prompting. What sucks about recording your own videos, there's no one to talk to. And so it's one-sided immediately. So you got to get used to kind of this feeling, right? Is where I'm talking and they're listening. I know they're listening, but they're not like saying anything. Every once in a while they'll like nod their head or something, but there's not a whole lot of feedback. But you get this point where you're like, okay, now I've got this video. It's working really well. Now I'm going to take this video and I'm going to take the transcript of the video and spit it into ChatGPT and say, hey, buddy, I need you to make me an article out of this. And so now you have this really cool what to expect page on your website that is in your voice. Do not take the thing that ChatGPT spits out and copy and paste it on your website. Something's wrong. So fix it, trying to look through it, kind of see what's feeling right, erase duplicate content, all of that stuff, and start pushing that out. So now what's cool is on your website, you now have a video that you've recorded that people can click because people do not want to read anymore. But if they do, then they just scroll down and they read the whole article. Now you've gotten this crazy big piece of content that you can push out. You can take little snippets of what you've had written and put that on the web or on social media to kind of pull them back. I did a screenshot of this video that was kind of like a weird, like, I don't know, it was like a funny clip, right? And I put I screenshotted that, I put that on Facebook, and I put the caption, "The look I give when you update your headshot and I didn't shoot it." And that got more engagement than anything else I had said that month. Because it's just a little disrupt, right? It's just something that I found within a piece of content that had already existed that I was just trying to piece together, right? Gary Vee talks about this a lot, like creating long form content and then snipping it up into smaller pieces of content. Another cool AI trick, there is a tool called Opus AI that I use all the time. When I record a long form piece of content with somebody, I push it into Opus AI, and then it will spit out little reels for me that are 30, 45, maybe a minute and a half. And they're usually pretty okay, and I can edit them from there. But that's a great way to get multiple pieces of content from one. That's how I put a value add to doing video shoots and stuff. If I can do this, but then you get this out of it, that makes it a little bit more valuable, right? So use whatever you're good at to start expanding. I know that that's hard whenever I'm saying, well, just create video. I know. And I know that that sounds pitchy too, but I don't care who you record video with. And then you could just pull out your phone this afternoon, and that should probably be homework. Pull out your phone and record the first draft of a what to expect video. At least then you have something that you can push out of, right? The video thing is the best way to get people to understand your culture. It's the easiest way. Back in the day, 10, 15, 20, how long have you been doing this? 45 years, building websites. We used to say, well, you got to have the right words at the right time. Can't be too much, can't be too little. We're all verbiage. Like, what's the verbiage? What's going to pitch well? And then move forward a little bit. We're like, well, you have to have images on your website. You have to do that. Now it's like, well, yeah, it's cool. Images will reinforce the verbiage. They don't want to read it anymore. They want you to talk to them. They want you to woo them, right? Okay. Let's keep going. But what do I say? Right? So you got to find the content in your everyday. I know that a lot of this is like the how kind of feeling. Harriet the Spy, rest in peace. Famously, I learn everything I can and I write down everything I see. How can we find the content that already exists within what we do? Don't do it the hard way. Because I could do like a 3-day workshop for everybody and be like, okay, let's break down everything that is the culture of your company, how you put things together, how you interact, and we could go that way. And I could create a marketing plan that would like wow you. But if you're doing this now, we're not worried about doing some multi-week setup thing. I want you to create content now. You've got to figure out what's actually happening, right? I had to find a reason to put a Bob Dylan quote in just because it's part of my soul. But he says, you know something is happening, but you don't know what it is, right? So we've got to figure out like, okay, what am I looking for? Here's some easy content minds for you to start creating content like now, like today. Like you could even just ignore me the rest of the talk and just start. A and the first two kind of merge together. You have to listen to your clients. In order to listen to your clients, you actually have to talk to your clients. Funny thing, right? Take people out to coffee. Ask them what their experience was. You're not sending them a link to review you on LinkedIn or a recommendation, or you're not telling them to give you a Google review. You're actually asking, what was the hardest part about working with me? What was the one thing that you were surprised about? Or what was something that was different than you thought it was going to be? Is that a good different or a bad different, right? What do they love about experiencing your company and moving into, what does that think? Because all of that stuff is just content. It's stuff that you need to be telling people because they didn't know before, right? Or room for improvement otherwise. So the sister, bye, Lynn. Good to meet you.
Bye, Ryan.
Enjoy the vet. Well, I mean, nobody enjoys the vet, but it's going to be fun. It's one of those instances where they're like, should I say something? Okay, pairs nicely with this second thing. Look at your FAQ. Show of hands, who has an FAQ on their website? You need an FAQ on your website, right? Because that's, here's the joke that I created that my daughter hated last night. And I didn't even put it in here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. FAQ, easy way to remember this. These are the Q's that you give the A's so that people know what the F it is that you do. Eh? You like that? Okay, anyway. FAQs are easy. You answer common questions, meaning whoever answers the phone for your company, you take them out to lunch. What question do you answer every single day? Because there's a problem there. You're not going to filter out those questions altogether because people don't read anything, and I put my pricing is on my website. My schedule is on my website. You can go book a headshot session without ever talking to me. People still call. Hey, can I get in this week? It's like, I don't know. Did you check my availability on the website? Like, okay, all right, that's fine. And I'm happy to oblige. But if there's something that you're answering all the time, that's content. That's something that you're missing that you need in your website, in your social media, that stuff. Address common objections. Now, there's a whole class, probably in Sandler, that talks about unspoken objections. What are the things that people say to themselves that cause them to not do business with you? What are the things that they assume? And what are the things that they are just not wanting to talk about because they feel like you're going to pitch them, right? For me, I don't know what to wear. I suck at being on camera. I'm not photogenic. 90% of people that walk in my door say that, right? And I tell them all the time, hey, the art's done. Like, I learned that a long time ago. This is all science. If I can show you what looks good on camera and you do those things, you look good on camera. Like that, you just get rid of that. But if I don't say that, then there's this weird tension that happens, right? So there's this thing that people do is they just answer questions for themselves whenever you don't do it for them, and then they choose based on that. But it's all false information if you haven't given them what to go off of, right? So you answer common questions, you address common objections, and then you're just clear. This is what creates this funnel. Everybody talks about creating a funnel website. Kind of this idea is like everybody comes to the website. Everybody that gets there, right? That's another issue. But whenever they start coming down through the content, you're filtering out people that aren't good for you. Not everyone's going to be my client. If you want a headshot done by noon, I'm probably not the guy. If you only have 5 minutes to spend in the studio, probably not your guy. But it's easy to see how long I usually set sessions up. It's easy to see how much it costs to work with me because I want to filter out people that are not my clients. I'm clear creating that funnel, right? Okay, here's the weird one. Kate and Ashley already know what I'm talking about, but you have to have somebody fall in love with you. This kind of goes back to the coach thing. I'm a part of this networking group up in Midtown. And the big thing that we always talk about is like we come to meetings, but that's more for visitors. The magic happens in these one-on-one times, right? We go have coffee, we go have lunch, we talk about our businesses at a little deeper level. My job in those instances, my job in headshot sessions, my job when I'm actually running a video shoot is to temporarily fall in love with someone. If I can fall in love with someone, I'm genuinely, like legitimately, when I'm doing this, I had a talk with myself this morning when I got in the car. It's like, hey, I do not like speaking in front of people. It makes me massively nervous, and I have massive imposter syndrome. So much so that I had to meet Tim for lunch and say, hey, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Why is this useful? Right? I have to kind of reinforce. But I had to tell myself, the whole point of doing any of this is because I genuinely care that you guys succeed in this. I want you to sound authentic because it's worked so well for me. And so all I'm doing is just trying to make your jobs easier. If I can fall in love with someone and genuinely wish their well-being and genuinely root for them in that moment, it is so easy to create content for them. So find someone to fall in love with you. Go have lunch with someone, try to fall in love with them, right? Because it changes the way that you interact. It changes the questions that you're asking. It gives you a little bit more ground to stand on, to kind of go further, to go deeper into what it is that they do, what makes them enjoy what they're doing, what they love about serving people. It's this heart, because there's not a lot of heart in networking. It kind of gets bland, it gets surgical, and it gets pitchy. And so you just run in and you're like, it's like walking into a room and trying to do your preacher voice over everyone else's preacher voice. That sucks. Nobody wants to do that. People want to be moved, right? It's this compassion aspect of what we're doing. And compassion is the way that you actually connect with people, right? Pali word for compassion is karuna, and it means like the quivering of the heart. It's a movement, it's an action. All right, so listen to your clients, FAQ, have someone fall in love with you. It's kind of like a hack, because then that they'll ask questions. You're like, wow, I never even thought about that, because your head is too far in your business, like we talked about at the beginning. Okay, pro tips. Seasons change, so should your content. Guess who loves whenever you update your web content? A, your marketing company, and B, Google. They love it whenever you're like, hey, I've got something new to say. I'm still relevant. This business hasn't tanked. I'm still here. But some people, they keep their websites up for 10 years after they've closed their doors just because domains are cheap, right? And they don't think about it. But if we constantly change the way that we're talking to people, which we should if we are growing and having meaningful conversations and finding ways to talk to people, that's an easy way to keep on updating how we're talking to people, what's important to us. And then businesses have seasons too, right? So as those seasons change, Kate's not going to talk about an air conditioner in December, although she should be prepping for the spring tune-ups, but that gets too much into it, right? You could start thinking about, like, there are seasons for certain things. So start thinking about that. Now, these things should be shared on all content. I wanted to put this in here because it's easy to start talking about creating content and thinking about social media and how to do all of that, but it should be shared. Once you find your voice and you start speaking authentically into the world, that gives people this precedent. So if you were to see a video of mine and I was like, hey, here's the one I'm gonna shoot this one. What is today? I'm gonna shoot this one next week. I guess if I'm making you guys do something this week, I should do something this week. I'll shoot it this week. But I'm talking about the crop of your headshot specifically for social media, because I see so many people that do this. See this? This is their headshot. And when you look at this on LinkedIn, that doesn't make any damn sense, people. I don't even know who you are. But if I'm here, you can actually see, oh yeah, dude's got a beard, wears stupid hats. I got it. I'd know him if he walked into a room, right? And so you start getting this feeling like that. So I need to do a crop video. Super easy. But if you see that video and then you go to my website, and then my website sounds all medical and weird, not my voice, oops, guess who doesn't want to do business with Ryan anymore? Just lost it, yeah? And so you can't do one side of things and not the other. So start thinking about how you speak. It goes back to this getting out of your business. Experience the full gamut of the process as a client of your company. And do it often, because that season change, so should you, yeah? Oh, I changed it, sorry. All right, one final tip. And I think it's kind of backwards from what I've said before, because I've talked about how to create content, and this is not about creating content. This is about engagement, right? Because we've been talking about media, but that's not the name of what we're talking about. It's social media. If I spend, there's a difference between, man, I should not make analogies on the fly because they end up being offensive. There's a difference between someone that stands on a milk crate on the corner, holding a Bible, throwing things at people, yelling, right? And someone having lunch with you saying, hey, this is what I believe. What do you believe? This is a conversation that's happening. It's a transfer of information. I'm not just throwing things at you, hoping to knock somebody out eventually, right? Social media. I engage with people that I enjoy, and I champion people that I want to see succeed. So when I come across something that / creative has put out, I'm going to read it because I like Tim and I like Michaela and I want them to be happy and I want them to be successful. I like and I comment and I share these things whenever appropriate because it's important to me, not necessarily to like and comment and share, but it's important to me to support my friends, right? It's important to me to make sure that the people that I know the other people that I know. Because if we're not social on social media, it doesn't make any sense. The other thing that this does, which is kind of backhanded, but whatever, it also keeps you at the forefront, right? I liked a post that Tim did like 3 weeks ago, and here I am, now talking to you fine people. So it's all because of that, right? No, it's like one of these things, like if you are constantly keeping in people's worlds, and Michaela and I were talking about like, what events do you go to? Like, well, I'm a part of everything that everyone does because I'm active, right? I'm talking to people online. I'm putting in my, what does he call it? This is another Gary Vee thing. He talks about putting in $1 worth of effort, which means putting in 2 cents on a bunch of posts throughout. What is your 2 cents, right? It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but if you engage, then people are going to see that you're engaged, which is an important part of what we do as a company, as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a business person. We're actually engaged. It's not just waiting for people to throw money at you. So be more social. So back to the beginning, right? I ended with engage, right? You have to actually connect with people. You have to enjoy what it is that they're doing in order for that law of reciprocity to start taking effect. Be more engaged in conversations so that way people are more likely to be engaged in conversations that you start. Then tell stories. I'm not creating content to pitch at people. I'm just kind of telling stories. It makes it easy, right? If my FAQ is, hey, what do I wear? Tell a story. This is what works. This is what doesn't, because this is my experience. Then you can educate. Then you start talking about features of what it is that you do. That's just 1/3 of it, but it's so much time it becomes the whole thing, right? And like I said, social media, marketing, content, all of this stuff is making friends at scale. So if it's not something you would say to your friend, maybe not say it. Change the way that you're saying it. Change the way that you're approaching talking to people, because marketing is changing. The way that ads are running is changing. When I say to be authentic, that does not mean be casual. I'm not saying to be more casual than you already are. I'm a pretty casual guy. It works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. I watched an ad yesterday that was like oh, hey, look at this. I have no idea what the dude said, but he was trying to be casual, but it was clearly fake. So it can work that way as well. Find your voice, but educate. Tell stories, engage, all of that stuff, right? Okay, that's me. I think that's how to get a hold of me. Definingimage.co, because .com was taken. If you get to a salon in Oregon, not going to work. But you could get me my email. That's my cell number if you want to text me and say, hey, don't ever do that again. Anybody have any? I should look at the chat here. Look at that. That was nearly the time that they told me to speak, and I didn't think that that was going to happen. Yeah, social media is making friends at scale. Kate, that was totally ChatGPT. I didn't do that at all. I was like, hey, what would you say about this? Because I run everything through it, so that way it tells me if I'm sounding stupid, and then all the good lines come from it. So whatever, not my bad. Anybody have any questions? Unmute yourself, make yourself known.
How can we support you on social media?
To go through your own business experience, like what did you set up to make that happen?
I mimicked a client first, right? That's the easiest thing to do is like, okay, I need to audit the email that comes to me whenever someone books. Well, whenever I first get on the website, what's the navigation look like? I always tell people, like when I'm creating websites, it's like you got your home page, which is usually like your logo, and you have your about page. It's like how a normal conversation would flow. Test that. Because if you click left to right on your website and something's weird, that's automatically something that we're gauging this trepidation that happens with people. And so then I start reading my content. I'm like, okay, let's go back to the pricing page, because that's where people head, right? Like you can see, analytics will tell you where they're going. But if they're going to the pricing page and then they're going back to the home page and then back to the pricing page, you're already starting to think like, something's weird here. I'm not answering a question. I'm having to go back and forth. What is it that needs to happen? So you can use tools like analytics to start looking at what's actually happening there. But it's just a gut feeling too, right? Does this sound like me? Is this something that I would actually say? Is that how this whole thing works? But then you start, there's a whole host of things. Whenever it talks to, I try to create shoots that I'm controlling, shoots that I'm actually running, like a Disney experience, right? Everything that I do is tailored for that experience. Simple thing. Whenever you come to get a headshot, I do not meet you at the door. That's something that people are like, you should meet people at the door. That's kind of makes them feel welcome. No, I am behind my desk in the studio. You open the door and I welcome you in, because get this. Photographers are creepy. And it's already tension building whenever you come in. So if I give you your own space and there's a physical barrier between me, especially young women that come into my studio, right? There's already this experience of like, oh, I have my own space. There's a bit of safety here and there's a bit of distance. That's on purpose. I'm not doing this, right? It's not willy-nilly. So everything that you're doing in terms of customer interaction is a part of that experience. So we kind of start building in how do those things work, and finding someone who falls in love with you, be like, oh yeah, let me look at this. This is how I experience this, because it could be completely different as well. How can we
I had a
support you on
question
social
for you.
media? Just kidding. Connect with me on LinkedIn, because it's not about supporting me. I actually want to have conversations with you, right? So connect with me on LinkedIn, text me or whatever, and we can have coffee and talk about stuff. I'd much rather, it's like this, I've stopped building a following and just started getting more friends. Weird. So it's one of those things. If you want to be friends, I will be friends with you. That's how you can do that. Jack, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I just had a question. What was like the defining moment that you had that kind of made you?
Oh, we have to turn your let me turn the speaker on. Sorry. I turned mine off because I thought it would be annoying. Say that again, Jack.
Oh. I was just asking, what was the defining moment for you that made you know the difference between the content that you were doing wrong, like how it felt in the past, and the transition into what felt right?
That's a good question. I think for me, I could always tell it was a little bit off, right? I've tried to hide these videos, but I will absolutely share them if anybody wants to see them. But it's you create them and you have this idea, like the one that I showed of the cave. I just thought it was pretty because I was shooting in a cave in the full daylight, but I shot it in a way that made it look like night. So I was stuck on the wrong thing. And I was trying to build this following for something that I didn't really want to talk about, for one, because I was trying to chase something that was not important to me. And so I think it was more of a self-realization thing of like, okay, what is it that we're doing? Do I like what I'm doing? And why am I pursuing this other thing? Because this stuff that I was showing you that was kind of early on was more of like, oh, I want to create a YouTube page that teaches entrepreneurs how to survive entrepreneurial life, not budgeting, not putting together marketing, but more of like, here's how to negate negative self-talk. Here's how to do these things. But when I was talking about it, it sounded preachy. It sounded put together and I was too scripted and it wasn't a conversation. For me, it was one of those things like when I started having these interactions with clients and getting feedback of like, oh, this is the big one that I always got was, oh, that's a lot different than I thought it was going to be. Like, well, crap. How many more headshots would I sell if it was actually the way you thought it was going to be? And I wasn't giving you this wrong impression all the time. So it's kind of, like I said, it was like an evolution. You start getting more comfortable with being this. I think that's also comes into play with me and my imposter syndrome, because when I feel like I don't bring enough value, I start trying to change me to try to make myself more valuable, which is not why people ask you to do things. They want you to do things, which kind of tells people that there is value there, right? So I just assume value, and then if people don't get any value out of it, that's your problem. Does that actually answer the question, Jack?
Yeah, in a way.
In a way, my circular answers, that happens. Anybody else? I'm happy with silence too.
don't know anything about that.
I lead a meditation group twice a week. And so sometimes when we ask for feedback, it's just silent. It's like, we just did this. I'm happy with this. It's fine.
You want to review my site? That's almost complete.
Yes, we're about to close out, but yes, I will absolutely do that. And here's usually what I do for people on that regard. I'll do it on my own because then it's in my own voice, but I'll record it. So throw it in the chat, and I will absolutely do that.
All right. Well, it's only set up for mobile.
Okay,
Desktop is still being worked on.
that's fine. I'll look at it. I'll make sure that I look at it. I'll review your site. Because that's cool to get somebody, especially somebody that, we've just met. And so it's like, oh, this is kind of what I'm getting. Is this kind of what you're looking for? That kind of deal?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and just even at what you were, just the context of like your angle of marketing. It's like a very unique way of looking at it, which is kind of hard to come across in a sense. And I don't know. There was a lot of things I heard you say that I've only heard myself say. So that's why I just wanted to kind of shoot this over to you and just see what your feedback is on it.
See, kindred spirits, making friends already. I like it. Awesome, man. Thank you. Yes, I will look at that. All right, Timmy.
All right, let's give Ryan a round of applause. Yay! Great talk. Appreciate your time investment and sharing your expertise and experience. So we will meet again next month, always the last Wednesday of the month. So that happens to be May 25th. Huh?
May 28th.
28th, sorry, you just told me that and I still got it wrong. May 28th, the last Wednesday in May, we will be discussing DISC and applying it to digital communication. Our speaker next month will be Crystal Evans from Sandler Custom Growth Solutions. So we are excited to hear her. I will be joining that virtually since I'll be out of town, but I think we'll all be here in the room and hope that you can join us as well. So thanks again for being here, and let's give Ryan one last round of applause. He's coming back up like he has something else to say.
No, I was just going to copy the URL.
He's gonna, okay. All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
And yeah, Ryan, I'm going to find you on Instagram, man.
Cool, man. Absolutely.
All right, man.
Peace,
Later.
guys.